sunset shots of ski movies and glossed up by magazines. I thought that being a skier, a real skier, meant committing to the constant sense of chase. Now, I'm not sure if I remember the beginning correctly, or if it's become a story I tell myself, one of those light-on-the-threshold moments. But here's what I remember. There was a campfire, and we were in Maine. Ivan, my future boss, who was a semi-stranger then, might have been wearing a mullet wig, as he often did that summer. We were in the thin ellipsis between bug season and winter, and I was just over the edge of 21, just out of college. Not sure what was coming next, but sunk into that achy-chested pre-melancholy of knowing I'd never be back there, or at least not in the same way. I was raft guiding on the granite-choked rivers of the northern woods, sleeping crammed into a 2-room, 8-bunk cabin with at least 9 other people, living on leftover trail mix. I had already, unwittingly, primed myself for dirtbag living by neglecting showers, counting my income in tips, committing to moving my body hard. When Ivan said he could get me a job in Colorado, where all I would really have to do was ski every day, my life pivoted toward a particular grimy dream. I don't believe in God or fate, but some tangled part of me got sucked into a modern manifestation of the frontier fantasy, problematic as it might be. I latched onto the idea that if I went west, I would be braver and truer and more exciting. I wanted an adventure I could call my own, and a way to grow up with the country. A path that feels hard to find now that so much is commodified and mapped. I just needed someone to tell me it could be real. So, yes, I moved halfway across the country to a town I'd never been to before because a man in a wig said he could get me a job scanning lift tickets for minimum wage. And yes, I was a couple of beers deep when I said I would go. The unknown was part of the appeal, but I told my mother I'd probably be back in May. I recruited 2 college friends to come with me and drove to the Rockies in my decade-old Jetta. Skinny East Coast skis stuck through the slot in the trunk, the rest of my life piled around them, chasing a conflagration of all the things I wanted to feel. The rip of gravity, independence and interdependence, the adrenaline that comes from risk. Of course, that wasn't the actual beginning. The actual beginning was a bunch of decades back, before a lot of snotty-nosed lift rides, broken fingers, and ski bus crushes brought me to that bonfire. You don't become a skier by accident. It's an objectively stupid, expensive, gear-intensive sport. But my parents enabled it early, cramming my brother and me into hand-me-down boots and carting us to New Hampshire so they could ski too. As a kid, I found a sense of community tailing older boys down icy blue bumps. It made me feel different, and it made me feel like I belonged. In college, I'd wake up in the post-party, pre-dawn dark to drive across Maine and New Hampshire just to ski knobby backcountry lines in the White Mountains. I've always felt clearer in motion. My skiing story isn't unique. I'm a stereotype, an East Coast kid pulled west by the promise of bigger adventures and broader ranges. And I revered the notion of the ski bum. The idea that the purest skiers were the ones upending elitism in a world that was otherwise highly elite. Ski bums are the ones who operate below the surface, taking advantage of the system, but not exactly being in it, never paying full price for food or skis or passes. That idea has long, tangly roots. As soon as lifts started turning, a counterculture that rejected social norms in favor of 100-day-a-year ski seasons sprung up around them. Shelled out by World War II, soldiers from the 10th Mountain Division came back to the U.S. and started building ski lifts and cutting trails. They'd been groomed into iconoclasts who couldn't settle back into normal life, and they built up an industry around that drive. After that, Warren Miller glorified living in a parking lot in the 60s. The 70s made skiing look sexy and brave.